Hey! Back again. So, welcome to the edge of Western civilization yet again. Here we are in Venice Beach. Been gone for a bit, off the grid, in the woods, so forth. Let's see. So many stories to tell. It's a beautiful day on the beach. Really quiet so far. Not a lot of weirdness. I think they call it summer, where I come from. Summer. And let's see. So, I made it to the gathering in Utah, the Rainbow Gathering. There were about 10,000 people there. And getting there was a bit of a pain in the butt because, all right, I'll tell you the whole story. Okay, so I left on the, I think it was the Tuesday, like the 26th or something like that of June, and started driving out of Los Angeles, and I got 87 miles all the way to the top of the Cajon Pass on the way to, on the 15 going to Las Vegas, and I couldn't turn around because there's no exits on the Cajon Pass. And luckily the car made it to the top of the hill so I could turn around and roll back down because the clutch was acting up, and by the time I got down to the bottom, the clutch was toast. And AAA was kind enough to give me a courtesy tow off the highway to the nearest McDonald's. You know, we're going corporate this time, right? And did I say there wasn't a lot of weirdness here today? Well, spoke too soon. So, yeah, AAA. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning, right? I got, you know, I'm stuck on the side of the road at the bottom of the Cajon Pass, and digging around, and I find my AAA card from last year, and it turns out that the AAA card was a year. Was it a year? Anyway, it was like 11 days past the expiration, right? So I called them up, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll let you re-enlist and everything for the regular price." I had Premier, you know, where you can get towed 200 miles or something like that. That would have covered the whole thing. And they said, "You won't be able to use it for a week." I'm like, "So here I am, side of the road. I'm supposed to sit here for a week, for, you know, because you got some kind of bureaucratic line in the sand or something. But you'll take my money." Anyway. Hello. Yeah, so anyway, ends up happening, I text a friend of mine. I text Ryan Mitchell, and I texted him and said, "You know anybody that's got a AAA card?" It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, I don't usually text anybody at 4 o'clock in the morning, but I texted him just in case, so that he'd see it when he woke up, you know? But he looked at it like, "I don't usually get a text from this guy at like 4 o'clock in the morning. Let me see what it is." And he totally came to the rescue, and drove the 87 miles out because you had to be there for the tow and with the card. And we got the car back to the mechanic. They worked on it that afternoon. my friend Ryan donated a couple of what do you call it? Really expensive, like $1,800 worth of sound equipment to get the car fixed, even though it was a $500 job. And luckily the mechanics were willing to do the trade. So they fixed the car, and that evening I headed out again, made it 37 miles out to West Covina on the 10, and the car started bogging out, and it took me 6 hours of nursing it back to the mechanics all night long. Luckily, I didn't get, stopped for driving under 40 miles an hour on the interstate, and by the police. And I was able to make it all the way back to the mechanics the next day. They take a look at it, and they get under there, and it's Saturday. What was that, like the 28th or 29th or something like that? Now there's people waiting for me. I have half the kitchen stuff, the Natural High kitchen stuff, in the van. There's people waiting for me to get there so we can set up the kitchen and do the Natural High kitchen at the gathering. And at this point, they got most of the car fixed, but they weren't able to find out why the car was bogging out. They found like a fuse that had blown and all this, but so anyway, it's at least I got to watch some of the World Cup. I don't know who I watched, but it was fun. It was the first time I don't get to watch television that often, so it was really fun watching television while not worrying about my car. So what ends up happening is they're like, well, it's we're closing. It's Saturday evening. We won't be back till Monday. You're welcome to bring the car back on Monday. I'm like, yeah, I gotta go. Monday would be like the 1st of July. It's like I don't know that since my first gathering, I don't know that I've ever got to the gathering that late. So I drive the car, and it's I spent, after about me spending a couple hours under there myself trying to play with wires and whatnot, and hoping I fondled the right wires and whatnot. So I just like, I got to drive. I'm going to drive to the beach, So I drive to the beach, and I get almost to the beach, and the car was running fine. So I was thinking, well, maybe I fondled the right wire, So there was this moment where I come down this hill, and do I keep going towards the beach, or do I take a right to the highway? So I just, I had to try, right? So I take a right to the highway, and then there's this moment where I get to the highway, and I'm, waiting for the light to turn, so I turn the corner onto the on-ramp, right? And this on-ramp, you have like a frontage road, right? So right next to the on-ramp, so there's like a bailout, and I say to myself, if this car is worried, if it goes on the highway, then I'm going. I'm going to try to make it, right? I turn the corner, and I hit the gas, and the car bogs out, right? So I'm like, should I just plow through the bog out, or just, and finally I just said, this is ridiculous. You can't begin a journey of what was it, like almost 1,000 miles, with the car like bogging out at the beginning, So I bail out. I hit the frontage road, and as soon as I turn the car away from the on-ramp, the car starts acting normal, and it's been acting normal ever since. So I was like, okay, I can take a hint. So I drove to the beach, and parked the car, and I went out to the water, and it was the new moon, so I trimmed my beard, and formulated Plan B, right? I decided I really didn't want to have to drive for a couple of reasons, and besides the fact the freaking car wasn't working, but what I ideally wanted to do was to just fly at that late date, you know. And I checked my bank account, and I had just enough for a one-way ticket. So I booked a one-way ticket, and the next morning I flew out to Salt Lake City. And hello. So landed in Salt Lake City and unfortunately it was a Sunday, so you know Sundays in Salt Lake City are not exactly the best time to be there because like one thing, the buses don't run. So I basically spent the night on a light rail platform coming from the airport, waiting for the bus that would take me up to Park City the next morning at the crack. And next morning, I happen to have this one? Hold up, this? Just one sec. Do I have this? If you don't see it in here, you go through all of them. Most of them. Okay. Yeah. I don't know that I do. But I know that it's in this side. You want it in this side?
Tu veux regarder ceux qui sont en laisse?
As I said, I'm having a massage of the long story. All of the words that are actually good for you. How much? All the things that you think about you as well, and you go back.
Come on, Maddie, we're going to sit in the grass.
Ta-da! So, next day, crack of dawn, what was really funny is I was sleeping on this light rail track platform, and my head was like 5 feet away from the trains in the morning. So the trains, they start at like 5 something, and the bus wasn't until 6:30. So at least I used that as like my clock to know that I only have a little while longer to sleep, you know. And this is after hiking around trying to find a hotel at that hour, but it didn't work. So anyway, so I got the bus, gave me a ride up to Park City, and it dropped me off right next to a petting zoo. So picture this: I'm standing there on the on-ramp with my backpacks and stuff, and 20 yards away, right on the corner there's a zebra. I'm in Utah, in the Wasatch Mountains, you know. There is a zebra, and right next to the zebra there's a buffalo with a very large penis. And no doubt about who had the biggest penis for miles around. That was that friggin' buffalo. So there's the buffalo, the penis, and the zebra. There was a goat, a burro, and this really cool looking deer, all hanging out there. And they actually had, like, you know, those little bubble gum machines you turn and little gum balls come rolling down. They they had feed for each one of them. You could pay for. So anyway, I'm standing there, and me and the zebra, and people that are driving by, going real slow, checking out the zebra. And it was pretty crazy. Eventually, I got a ride. To Heber, and by this wonderful lady that I would not have expected to pick me up. She had a real estate management company, and she was gracious enough. She said the reason she picked me up is because she would not want to think of her father or her son standing on the side of the road and not getting picked up. So she picked me up, and so she dropped me off. We guessed that where the best place for me to get off was. I get out of the car, I cross the street, get down a block, and on this street, and I was trying to send a message to everybody that was paying attention, following the saga of David gets to the rainbow gathering, I hope. And what ends up happening is this car pulls up, this woman leans over, she goes, "You look like you need to ride to the rainbow gathering." And it was his brother Lucid and folks from his kitchen. Lucid's one of my brothers. Hi there, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Wonderful.
I have that one at home.
Which one?
The middle one. Yellow, yeah. No, top, right there. Yeah. I haven't found a frame for it yet, though.
Where?
I like the music. Good, thank God. I sound like I'm from California. I love it here in the Liverpool, but I sound like I'm from California. Yeah.
Okay. So, I ran into a friend of mine in the first world activity in Bethlehem of 1999. She had come from the desert.
Yeah.
And make a long story short, I asked her, what do you want to say?
You did?
And so we went back to this place, and this literally,
See, that's what I'm saying.
Plumbing and everything like that. It's spring, it's all different.
Wow.
And it's been abandoned since 4 years. So, it's like, it looks like an extra meaning the way that this village is like a triple. So, we picked this floor, all the windows are blown out. So there's really not even through the holes in the roof that built a fire. It was a full moon. You know how when you first start a fire, like it's really smoky.
Yeah.
And so when you see smoke, the moonlight comes through the hole in the roof and it's captured by the smoke. So you see that and then my friend Carla has black hair. Black and blue.
Yeah.
And she took this white sheet, she wrapped it around her, and I was behind her and freaking around.
So, this one of the paintings I'll show you. These are,
So I used to do
these are
a live stream.
These are the originals.
That I do a live stream to
Oh, what is that? Leave it up.
Yeah, John did it on the
What did you do? Paint these and then,
Hit it like this on the big bucket.
yeah, like, so an original would be like 2,000. So
Something like
you
this
find a
big
lot of
would be
prints.
about 20,000 bucks. The stuff that I paint, this series is all under 1,000.
That's cool. Look at that one right there.
It's called Learning to Fly.
Thank you.
Good one.
All right. Have a good night.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Until that time.
So I wanted to get to the part where I tell you the really cool part. So there's a couple of really cool things that happened. Lucid and family got me to the gate, to the front gate, and then they helped me carry my stuff in to the center, you know, where info is, right in the middle of the gathering. And right at that moment, a couple of other people from that had been with our kitchen last year showed up at the same time. And I just didn't want to carry my stuff uphill any further at that point, so I just put up my tent, threw my stuff in, and that ended up being where my camp was for the rest of the gathering. It's always that way. Where's your tent? So right next to info. And there's, you know, there's pictures of on Facebook and whatnot. So, but one of the reasons I was really anxious to get to the gathering was because Arian Brazenwood, you know, Kelly Lee Phipps' son, was agreed to meet me there, you know, to hang out at the kitchen and stuff. And he had gotten there like 3 days before me, you know. And so I was really anxious about, you know, hoping he had a, you know, a good time and whatnot. You know, apparently I thought he'd been there more times because Kelly had been there more times, but he'd only been to one gathering before when he was in West Virginia. What was that, like 2004, 2005, something like that. Anyways, he said, you know, this is his first official gathering because you know, it's really the only one that he ever came to under his own steam, you know. So last summer, after the gathering in Montana, we had arranged to have another person from a kitchen, Heather Huntsman, who lives in Utah, to keep the kitchen stuff, you know, like the big wok and the big chai pot and all that kind of stuff, you know, a tub of utensils. And I thought there was more stuff like tarps and stuff, but we got rid of as much as we could, and we gave a lot to, there was a caravan, a bike caravan that went up to the World Gathering in Quebec last summer. So we gave as much of that stuff to them and so forth. So anyway, once I put up my tent, I had to go find where Heather was and whatnot, and I found where her camp was, and you know, and we're and laughing and whatnot, and lo and behold, there is Arian Brazenwood right next. His tent was 5 feet from her tent, and they, you know, he didn't know her before he got to the gathering. He just happened to, you know, put his tent there. So that's out of, you know, 8,000 people. That was pretty amazing, and the site was beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful sites we've ever had, without question. It was hard to have a good view of something, you know. You can go on the web and just check the photographs and stuff. It's just amazing. And then so that was cool, you know, the whole Arian Brazenwood thing, showing up next to Heather's, and so we hung out. You know, he and I got to work together a lot and play together a lot, and hang out and talk, and that was really, really, really cool. And I think there's a photograph of that too on Facebook. Somebody captured a video clip, a picture still from a video clip of him and me sitting at the main circle on the 5th of July having a conversation. And what we're really doing is planning an invasion. So there's this. I don't know. About a year ago, I was having a conversation with somebody, and they said, you know, I read this thing about some famous person wrote, and it was like a list of things that, in order to be a real man, you had to be able to do this list of things, right? And one of the top 10 things on the list was you needed to be able to plan an invasion. Which is, if you think about it, as an artist, that's what you're doing. You're planning an invasion. You're trying to, you know, get your idea out into the world, or your body of work, or whatever it is. If you're an author, you know, you've got to get your name. As Arian said, when he was like I think 7 or 8 years old. Kelly, all going to a open mic night, and Kelly, you know, Arian loved to read his own poetry there, and we were kind of moving a little too slow for him at that night, and Arian was like getting to the venue. I think it was Malaprop's store or something in Asheville back in the day, and Arian said, "Come on, Dad, we've got to hurry up and get to the poetry reading, because I got to get my theme out there." So, hey there, how you doing? I'm not just crazy and standing here talking to myself. I'm actually doing a live stream. So you're on camera. Just letting you know. Say hi to Mom. Hi, Mom. There you go. Hi.
Did you do all these?
You bet. I like the dress.
Thank you.
Shorts are pretty cool. Lacy thing.
How long have you been doing this for?
Since the dawn of time. I started writing right out of college, summer of '79, and then UMass Amherst.
Amherst, yeah?
UMass Amherst. Yeah.
Wow, that's sick.
Yep, it was sick.
That's always the job for all of us.
No.
Alright, sweetheart. I gotta run. I'm gonna be out all week. But come back and holler when you got time.
All right. Did you go to school back that way?
I got a SCSU, but I just been all over.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm from Massachusetts.
I have family in North Attleboro. Yeah, the little red schoolhouse at the top, that was my great-grandmother's school.
Crazy, yeah. I grew up on Cape Cod, and like the first game I ever started on offense was against Attleboro, and I was so anxious that I had what do you call it, cramps. I'm not drinking in the middle of the game. Yeah. My legs hurt. Oh, but we won. Oh, no, did I say that out loud?
It's just good. It's okay. It's nothing. Same as California's first time.
Pretty much. At least us.
So they're all scans? You don't have any of the...
Scans?
These are all printed too?
They're prints of my family.
Oh, okay, prints of it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't. Scanning doesn't work. The light is not full spectrum. These are all photographed with natural sunlight.
Yeah, I like the bike back.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for stopping. So, what do we got? Yeah, probably not going to get much painting done today. On screen, anyway. At like 33%. and the battery. Oh, it's great. It's charging my phone. Anyway, where was I? Planning an invasion, right? So there's something in the works, and I'm not going to tell you what it is right here, right now, but something very exciting is about to happen, and we're planning the invasion. But you'll all know about it pretty soon. Not even going to give a time frame, except before the end of the summer. Yeah. Very excited. Very excited. Okay, so so after I made it to the gathering, and I found the kitchen stuff, and the question, I mean, at that point it was the 30th of June, I think, and the next day was the 1st. I think it was the 1st. So on the 1st, you know, this like 3 days before the 4th of July and the big prayer and everything like that, not a whole lot of time to like pull together a food movie, which is usually what the kitchen's all about, you know. Our focus had been to do, you know, salad for the main circle, to do a breakfast circle in the main circle for everybody, and to chai and popcorn at night. But most of the kitchen folks didn't make it, and those that did were scattered all over the gathering. And I guess that's how the universe wanted it to be, because then it was a question of like, you know, what do we want to do? Do we want to do anything? Do we just want to shine it on and just have our own personal gatherings and everything like that? But I just felt like, no, man, we want to keep continuity. You know, we want to, you know, at least do something at the gathering that says, you know, Natural High Kitchen was here, that kind of thing, you know. Not so much like, you know, plant our flag or anything like that, but just to not fade away. Because I know that next year there'll be, you know, we'll have it together a little better than we did this year, and everybody will show up, and, you know, it'll be whatever it's going to be. So, but our goal, my goal anyway, with that kitchen was to help jumpstart the breakfast circle at the national gatherings, which we did it last year, and it was wonderful, and it was the first time that there had been a breakfast circle at the gathering since, I think, 1989, something like that. So, or even the early 80s, like 82, Washington, which is crazy. Because in the rest of the world, there's a breakfast circle, and you know, if you have a breakfast circle, then you can have. It's really easy to start workshops off of that and everything right afterwards. You know, everybody gets to see one another in the daylight, and yeah. So anyway, so we kind of set up the kitchen a little bit, and I put up a sign, and I know. I've been talking to some folks, and you know, for the past few months, I've been thinking about, you know, a lot about astral projection and lucid dreaming and out-of-body experiences, and I've been practicing on my own. Flies getting me, and I know, I just really wanted to share some of what I had been learning about, and to connect in with other people who had experiences. I wanted to hear what their experiences were. So what ended up happening is one of the scouts had asked me to go take a look at this meadow to see if we could use this meadow for the 4th of July prayer circle, and instead of having it in the main circle area, and which is always a little of, you know, there's always kind of a challenging thing to do, because if you've already established a place as a dinner circle, if you've already established a place as a dinner circle, then when everybody gets used to coming to that spot, and to move it, you have to kind of put a lot of energy, a lot of yelling, and hey everybody, we're going to do it this way, and everybody tomorrow morning on the 4th of July, you're going to show up over there, And so I went to go take a look and see what the meadow looked like, right? So I hiked way out where there weren't a whole lot of folks, and looked at this meadow, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful, beautiful. Then it turns out that's where the scouts had envisioned that the gathering would be the main circle for the gathering, and it just never, these things take on a life of their own. That's not how it played out. But they wanted to use it for the 4th of July prayer, silent prayer. So I went out there and I looked at it, and it looked beautiful and everything, and so I was walking back, and I was thinking to myself, I was thinking about whether or not I should offer a circle workshop call for a circle for, I didn't even know what to call it, lucid dreaming, out-of-body experiences, all that kind of stuff. Astral projection circle, blah, 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 right? And I was debating whether or not I should call for it that night, which meant calling for it meant that at the dinner circle I would walk around. It's like 2,000-3,000 people sitting in a circle, right? That means walking around and bellowing to a big swath of the circle all at one time. Hello, life is good. Doing a live stream right now. That's why I'm talking to myself, in case you were wondering. No, he's just that way. You never know. I'm Venice Beach. You kidding me? You never know, right? So what ends up happening is in order to call for a workshop or something like that, you have to go around and to each section of the huge circle, because there's all this other stuff going on at the same time. You got to get everybody's attention. Tell everybody, we're going to have a workshop, and it's going to be in the natural kitchen, and so forth, So, wow, beautiful. What happens is, I'm walking back from the meadow, just left that meadow up there, and this dog comes running out of the woods. And the dog, it looks like a German Shepherd, but I think it had kind of like a Border Collie mix, But it comes running out of the woods, and it runs up to about 10 feet away from me, And I put out my hand, present my hand, and the dog runs back. And right then the owner comes walking out of the woods, and the dog runs back to the owner, and then the dog runs back up to me, right? So I put my hand out again, and the dog runs back to its owner, all like it's nervous about me, whatever. And I was like, okay, well, whatever. And I wave at the owner, and I start walking down the trail, And I'm thinking about this, should I give this workshop, or should I not? And should I, if I'm going to do it, should I do it tonight, that night, or announce it tonight and have it be tomorrow, or what should I do, right? And right then, it flies back. What happens is the dog. Apparently the dog and its owner are walking down the trail behind me, right? And the dog is walking. It comes up and it walks right next to my leg, right? And when I stop and turn around, the dog runs back to its owner. It happens like 3 times. And finally, I just, started talking to the owner, and I was like, hey, what's your dog's name? And she says, Lucid. I was like, no kidding, that's pretty amazing. I said, hey, what's your name? And she says, Dream. But that lucid dream. I was like, I told her the story. I was like, I was just, you're not gonna believe this. I was just thinking about whether or not to give a lucid dream workshop tonight, and I think that's the universe saying, yes, yes. So I gave the workshop that night, called First Circle, and there were people waiting at the kitchen when I got back there, and there must have been, I don't know, 20, 25 people, and the conversation went for most of the night. It was wonderful. It was incredible. It was just like, like having a really great sandwich. And when you're really hungry. Hello. So, and it inspired me to the next night share the Akashic record meditation. And so the next night I went to the, oh geez, here we go, LAPD, helicopter. In case you didn't know, going around in circles. Big crime, big crime.
I want this. I walked up and down this place, and this is what I want.
Okay, that's good. Okay. So just so you know, I do a live stream at 6 o'clock, and you're on camera.
Okay, that's fine. You have my permission.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You might want to wave at your public. Hi, public. Cool.
I'm going to take your art back to Ohio.
Not Ohio.
Yeah. The heartland.
Of course, whereabouts?
Columbus. Right now.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's some relatives.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
I will tell them all about it.
Yeah. And some good friends who are on vacation in Mexico right now with their kids. 714 2014. That's funny because the smaller version of this just sold as well, like
I love
15
it.
minutes ago.
I love it.
And that size is sold out. I have more of these.
Nothing else on the whole beach
Here it is.
compared.
Take it. Not even the fuzzy little this tree.
No, that was cool. The Lorax guy. That was pretty.
Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
I was thinking Remy more than me, but this is for me.
You gotta get something for yourself,
That was
girl.
35.
Love it.
All the frames are hand painted by me as well, and they're real glass.
You have change?
For
40?
yeah, such a deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for still being open.
You're welcome. About that time,
Thank you.
Already.
Thank you.
I'm feeling blessed.
Whoa.
I don't know where the blue top went. So, yeah, I was telling you about the Akashic record meditation. So the next night, the night of the 3rd, I go around bellowing, "Hey everybody, I'm doing the Akashic record meditation at the Natural High Kitchen," right? And of course, you have to explain what the the Akashic record is, right? The Akashic record is the entire history, actually, of the universe, past, present, and future, and as infinite immortal children of light. We're all welcome to access it. So come to the Natural Light Kitchen right after dinner, and we'll start the, blah, blah, blah. So what ends up happening? I get 13%, so we're gonna wrap it up here. Wrapping. Crazy. So right after dinner, I look over and there's like people waiting at the kitchen again, and I get over there, and that make a long story short, man, there ended up being probably, there must have been 35, 40, 45 people there. And there may have been more, actually, because it's starting to get dark. Anyway, you know, the way I teach that meditation, it's a creative visualization. And you're basically talking people into an imaginary realm. You're taking them on a trip, just like you would if you were doing drugs or something like that, except no drugs. It's all with the imagination. Yum. Yep, low battery, 13%. I got you. All right. So, but you know, half of the workshop is you know, talking, giving people the groundwork to understand what a creative visualization is, and what this specific creative visualization is, and what the Akashic record is, and how I came about it, how I came to this, and you know, that I practiced it for like a month and a half every other day back in 1996, and you know, this gave a lot of information. And then my favorite part of the workshop, the second half of the workshop, is, you know, you talk everybody, you do the meditation, you talk everybody into this place, and just tell them that in order to come out, you just do everything that I just taught you in reverse, right? So everybody comes out, and then you share. You know, you go around the circle, and everybody shares what their specific experience was, and that'll blow you away. That'll blow you away. So, and after that, I just felt like that's really what the Natural High Kitchen was about. You know, it's about promoting the concept of being naturally high, and getting high naturally, and you know, giving spiritual technology, sharing the tools. You know, so. But after that night, I felt complete. It's not like I didn't feel like I needed to do anything more than that. The next day was the morning of the 4th, and at the Rainbow Gathering, it's when we have the silent prayer for world peace, and you know, the camp goes silent at dawn, and then everybody starts to gather all morning long at the main circle. And it had been decided to just keep it at the dinner circle area. So the main circle, people start to gather, and then around towards noon, a children's parade comes from Kid Village. And so this year, and ideally the children's parade comes into the center and joins the core of the folks that are remained in the center. Meanwhile, a larger contingent of people have expanded themselves out, holding hands, and made the biggest circle they can possibly make. And it usually extends all the way to the tree line for the meadow. And as the kids' parade comes closer to the circle, you know, everybody starts to ohm. And I don't know about you, but doesn't that sound a lot like let me paint the picture for you. It sounds a lot like a fertility ceremony. It occurred to me like 2 years ago, but this year I was totally into it, and I was right in the middle of it, feeling like this is like a fertility ceremony, right? So. But so I get up in the silence that morning and went and dug what we call a shitter, right, which is a slit trench, and for the info booth. There's nothing like digging a hole in the ground to really get you grounded. It's like one of the things that when I first get to a gathering, no matter where it is, like especially if you come a long way, like across the world or whatever. It really gets you, really literally grounds you, you know. And so I dug a shitter that morning, and then went back to my tent and did some more meditation, you know, practicing my astral projection stuff and exercises. And in my meditation, I kept getting these messages from different people. I won't go into that right now, but anyway, when I came out of my tent, there was Ari and Brazenwood, and so we had breakfast in silence, him and me in the kitchen, and had a lot of fun. And then we went over to the main circle and joined the revelry, joined the silence. And I like to start my meditation at the main circle with a little headstand and everything, do my little yoga positioning and whatnot. And so I did that. And then, so I'm standing, while I'm doing my little yoga thing, the circle of people holding hands is sort of blown out all the way to the tree line, right? And so there's a cluster of people in the middle, which looks like a nucleus, right? And then there's the circle of people that have blown themselves out, just like the walls of a cell, single cell creature, right? And so there I am between the two, witnessing, and I can look up the hill and I see the children's parade coming down the hill, and it looks like a sperm, right? And it pauses before the wall of people holding hands, right? The cell wall, and it enters, right? By that point, everybody's on, right? So the thing is agitated. It's all excited. The sperm comes all the way. I mean, the children's parade comes all the way to the center, and it circles around. It circles around the peace pole, and mingles with the nucleus of people that have hung out in the middle, and then, you know, crescendo, everybody starts, you know, jubilation and the big drum circle and watermelon and all that, and the wall, you know, the wall breaks down and everybody comes to the center, and there's a big party for the rest of the afternoon. Now, does that not sound like a fertility symbol ceremony? Anyway, thanks for listening. The rest of the gathering was pretty cool. There was a memorial that afternoon for Abe, who was the Abraham, who is my brother. He was born 2 weeks after me, same year, and he passed away on Halloween of liver cancer. And bless him wherever he is. And then the next day, you know, he was with the Ovens, the Love and Ovens, and at Love and Ovens they had a memorial, a remembrance of him that evening. And then the next day there was another brother from the New York family, New York City Purple Gang, Bobby Crystal Feather, and that kitchen usually puts on a brunch, you know, champagne, and there's not usually alcohol at gatherings, but they usually offer like sushi and champagne in the woods brunch. And so this year it was held at this place called Safe Swinging, where they have all these hammocks strung between aspen trees. And I got there, and they were just starting the circle. They were doing a remembrance circle for Bobby, and so we passed around Bobby's walking stick around the circle, and everybody got to share whatever they had to share about Bobby. And Garrett Beck, who was one of the people that actually starting Rainbow Gatherings, was there, and he had Bobby's ashes, and he spread them in a spiral in the middle of the circle, and for the wind to take. And it was a beautiful. Unfortunately, there'll be many more of those as the years go on, as you know, Rainbow isn't all it's anymore, and